Namaste. Welcome to Blessing Ready with Commander Uncle. In this series, we interact with people like you, me, all of us. These are the people you encounter every day, and many times you don't even know where they come from. We are fortunate that we get a chance to listen to the kind of people that I'm talking about, and of course to get behind their mind, get to know them well, and of course see the divine connect that they carry quietly without any of us knowing. Hopefully, some of them will inspire us and give us a sense of direction for us to move on the path we think would be right for us. Today we have Khushi, a brilliant young girl, very smart, intelligent, and pure soul. I have known her for many years. I have seen her grow from a young little child to a very fine lady today. And we will be talking to Khushi about her life, about her memories, and about her spiritual connect. Khushi, welcome to Blessing Ready with Commander.
Thank you so much.
शो पे आने के लिए आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। मैं जानना चाहूंगा कि आपकी ये अर्लीस्ट मेमोरीज क्या हैं और उनको आप कैसे याद करते हैं, कुछ बताएं।
Thank you once again. It's a pleasure to be here. My youngest memories with spiritual connect involves, I remember when I was very small and being the youngest girl of the family, I was involved a lot in all the pujas and all the havans that we used to have at our place and even at my relative's place, as I said, being the youngest girl. So it was not that I didn't like it or I was forced to do them, but I find that I had a special connection and I used to find those very interesting and I was eager to participate in them. So my spiritual journey started since I was 5 or 6, I remember, when I had a puja at my place and I was involved in doing all those stuff. From there I felt that this is something that can be what I like, and I enjoyed that. And after that I was eager to participate and I used to ask my parents that when are the next such things happening, or I used to ask questions related to that. At the time I didn't know about God much, but I just did that because I used to like doing that.
Okay. Any memories of it? Any particular event that inspired you?
At in my childhood?
Yes.
When I was 7 or 8 years old, and it was the first birthday of my younger brother, and we had a great celebration, a kind of puja at our place only. So at that time I had a lot of questions as to why these things are being done, and somewhere the question that people celebrate the birth of a boy or a birth of a girl started, and I used to think why they link it with God. Like, why do they have to thank God when a child is born, or whenever somebody gets something in their life that they receive as a blessing, why do they thank God? So from there, thanking God was a question in my mind because I had no such clue. Why do we have to thank God for that?
And you found an answer?
That remained unanswered for a long time, and it took years actually till the time when we started going to Guruji, and even after going to Guruji's mandir and being connected, for me connection didn't mean as such that I didn't know what being connected means. But I realized at a point of time that prayers exist and wishes get fulfilled, and actually the prayer works. That if we ask something from God and we keep praying about that with a pure heart, we do get that. So I started realizing that if I pray something with a kind heart, with a pure heart, and that is not going to harm anybody else and is beneficial for me, God will give me that.
Okay.
So that continued.
So let me just understand what you're trying to say. That the first realization that there is God was that you were able to pray and there was a response.
Yes.
And you could connect these two, a prayer properly done with a kind heart and pure heart, and the prayers get answered. And when they get answered, you feel, okay, there is somebody who is answering these prayers, and therefore there must be God.
Yes, exactly.
And when you went to Maharaj, you prayed and you got those prayers answered, and then you could link the divinity with Guru Maharaj.
Yes.
Will that be correct?
Yes. Before going to Maharaj also, we did worship many gods, and it was till that time we had no such particular direction. Like we used to worship different gods on different days. I used to go to temples, and I was very much inclined since childhood that I and my father used to go to different places, different temples, and I used to like that. So in my home, among my siblings also, I was the one who was interested in going to temples. So that is a different thing, but till that time I didn't really ask things from God, or I didn't know. Like we used to pray, like we used to see our parents join our hands and do something or say something closing our eyes, but what prayer meant I didn't actually knew before I went to Guruji. And even after going for the first time, it took me years to get this concept that if I pray, I would get that. So I didn't know that till quite a few times. Then as you said, as you interpreted that when I prayed to Guruji, or when I prayed, and if it was right, like if it didn't harm anybody else, so I used to get that. I could make this clarification from that. Till that time also, I didn't know that this is right for me or this is wrong for me. So that concept came after a lot of years again.
Okay, so but you now also understand the sense of right and wrong, and you connect that also with the divine.
Yes.
And that understanding.
Yes.
Okay. Let me have one example of you praying and your prayer getting answered. Or maybe two.
So I think this was the first experience that I had when I was in class 6th or 7th. So during that time when I was in school, the only thing that was important was, of course, getting good grades and excelling in the field that we are pursuing. So be it a competition, dance competition, or even a test. So I remember this experience when I had an exam the next day, and just one night before we had gone to Mandir. So I was prepared, but since it was not the subject that I liked, so I was not confident enough, and I was praying, and I just said that only those things come in exam that I know, and if something else comes, please help me and save me, because I can't study more than this. So the next morning I was there sitting for the exam. So it had 10 questions and carrying 1 marks each, something like that. So there was one question that I didn't know. I was sure that this is, a part of the chapter. I could make out the chapter, I could make out from where it is, but I didn't know the answer. And I just remembered God and wrote whatever I knew. The exam happened, and then we, just like the friends discussed, so everybody's telling the answer, and what I wrote is something, beyond the correct one. So anyway, I was quiet, and 2-3 days later, what happens is when the teacher comes with the checked answer sheets, and she says that there is a correction. So let me just tell you that we teachers discussed, and the mark of question number 3 has been given to question number 2, and that has been cancelled because we felt it was not from the syllabus. And when I just heard that, I was literally moved, and I was so happy. And when she distributed and I got full marks, I was very happy. And that was the point, the first experience that I realized that yes, if I pray something to God, that would be fulfilled.
Wonderful. This is so nice. Of course, your prayers get answered, and you already said when you have purity of heart, they do, and I know you have that. So, not surprised. Coming back to prayers, is there any particular way you pray? Is there any ritual, or you just pray? How does it work for you?
Initially, whatever I prayed, whatever I wished worked, and it was granted and I got that. But then I started facing situations wherein what I prayed and I didn't get that. So those were the periods where I felt, that why is this not being answered, or why is this wish not being granted? Is there something different from the one that I prayed earlier? So I made a kind of concept or a pattern of praying that this is going to be fixed every time. So that's clear ki now that I pray, everything would be answered, and this is a set pattern, so now there will be no mistake. But then also I remember a day, it was in class 8th or 9th, there were some elections that I stood for in the council, so there was no chance for me to be selected yet. One night prior, I just prayed just like the same way I used to. And I literally said that I really want to get into the council, and please get me into the council. No question of saying that is this good or if it's bad for me, nothing like that, just get me into the council. And the next morning when the results were announced, and I was not selected. So I was very disappointed, like why? And that question remained, but it took a lot of time. So I said, okay, nothing happens. So when I came across the next situation wherein I had to pray again, so now I was very thoughtful that will this one also get fulfilled or will this be rejected? That was the point where I thought that, okay, those wishes that are not being granted, let's ignore them, but let's still pray. Maybe this one would be granted. So that process continued, and I used to get upset initially, but then I became normal with that okay, if I get it, it's good. If I don't get it, then also it's fine.
So it means you reconcile to the fact that there will be prayers which will get answered.
Yes.
And there will be prayers which will not get answered.
Yes.
But you still were not sure of why the prayers are not getting answered.
Yes.
Okay. But at some stage did you realize that maybe the prayers which are not being answered is actually your prayer being answered, which means that you are asking for something which perhaps may not be good for you, and therefore in a way your prayer is being answered for your own good. You will not get what you asked for.
Right.
Does that make sense now?
Yes, that makes sense. As I said, that from the stage of wishing or praying and getting them fulfilled to the stage getting some of them fulfilled and getting some of them not, and then the next jump was very big and it took a lot of years. It was like 3 years back when I was in class 12th. So since 3-4 years I was preparing for this exam, my entrance exam, and to get into the university and the college that I wanted to. So I was very much inclined, and for those 2-3 years I was constantly praying for that only, and it was a kind of a goal for me. So since then I felt that there is no other prayer that I should get into, because this is the ultimate thing that I want, and I used to pray for that every day or every time I went to mandir, and this continued for 2-3 years. The journey that ended after 2-3 years, my exam went, it was really good, and it was the day that my result had to come. I was very much worried, yet I was waiting for the result, but I somehow knew that whatever I have prayed for so many years, I would get that. But then when the result came, I was not selected, and so I was at a stage where I had no backup plan also, and now what to do? That was the stage where I realized that some of the prayers being answered and some of them being not answered. That difference that I understood was that stage. And after that, things happened the way I never wanted them to be. I used to tell my sister that I will do anything but not pursue this course, and that was the course that I was admitted into. So I got admission in a college. I didn't know the name, I didn't thought, or I never imagined I would be there. So all together, a different university, a different college, a different course, something that I had never thought of, and way beyond the plan that I was praying for. And then when everything was done, so I took that as a last option, that okay, if nothing is there, let me get into it. But when I got into it, and then I got some dots that I could connect, that I could realize, I got messages, and somehow when I connected the story, I found that God's plan is way beyond what's ours. We might think that this would be better for me, but God knows what's best for me. And since then, I still remember the day when all this happened. I got my admission and I was settled, and then I went to Mandir, and then I thought that if praying consistently and continuously for one wish, and if that also was not granted, then there is obviously the God who is making out the difference between what's right for me and what's wrong for me. So it's not my consistency or my lack or my efforts lacking that my wish is not granted, but actually there's someone who's deciding what to give me and what not to give me.
So let's just recap this from a point where you assume that there are some wishes which are being granted, which are not being granted, and what are not being granted perhaps are not for your good, to a point where you realize that you pray and you plan, but divine has a better plan for you, and that plan exists whether you pray or you don't pray, because that plan will come into force irrespective of you asking for it. So did you at some stage realize the futility of asking in the first place, or you continue to ask and let divine play out its own story in its own way?
No, I stopped asking after that, not because that I was sure, or I was, I accepted the fact that let him do what, but my reason for stopping asking from God was that if my prayer wasn't, if my wish was not granted for continuously asking for 3 years, then my asking doesn't make a difference. And let him decide what I get and what is good for me. So that was the day that I stopped asking. It's not that I stopped praying, or it was not that I left everything on the Almighty and continue like that. I do pray even today. I do ask. I do
let him know.
Yeah, I do let him know what I want. I do pray to God, but still I know it's now that I've understood that I have to do my work, and then what happens is his work. So just continue with your efforts, and then let's hope for the best.
Khushi, you have a relationship with Divine now, Guru Maharaj. What kind of relationship you feel it is? Is it a relationship between like divine somewhere and you here, or it is a relationship which is also like kind of a friendship? It is a relationship where there is a lot more love than fear. How do you explain how you connect with divine now?
The relationship that I understand with the divine is not really friendship. it's like a relationship that has boundaries, that has fears in between. But my fears are not more than the love that I have for God, the love that I have for Almighty. So I know now whatever the relation I have with Him holds the fact that I know that He's watching. So that's the end.
All the time.
Yes.
So let me try and speak on your behalf. What I understand, He's watching you because He cares.
Yes.
He cares because He loves you. And He loves you not because there's anything in you. He loves you simply because He loves you. And that's the beauty of being in divine care. That you are in perpetual love of a supreme power, a supreme force. And when you have that connect, is there really a need to ask? Is there a need to fear? If there is a need to worry about things? Or you feel it can be left in His hand and you can then just do your own thing?
Things can be left in His hand, of course, and He's there to take
Can be or should be?
Should be, but it's very difficult.
It is very difficult.
It's very difficult.
Now, I do not expect another answer from a young mind. Honestly, you explained it brilliantly. Going forward, how do you see this relationship develop?
I see people, being connecting to God every day, every single second. It's not like that. And no, I really don't follow any such ritual. But I know I just know one fact, that when I'm sad, I go to God, then whenever I'm happy, I should also go to God. So that's my connection with Him. And it's like if you're there asking for help from Him, then also be with Him to celebrate your victories, because it's Him only who's there behind your life, behind your ups, your downs and everything.
Khushi, before we sign off, there must be many youngsters like you, brilliant minds, maybe confused, in some kind of identity crisis, not knowing which path to choose, which way to go. What message you have for them?
For the young ones like me, the message that I have to give is, people do think that young people are not really connected to God, not into rituals. So my answer is that you don't have to be in rituals to be connected to God. You have to choose your path. You have to choose your connection. Let your connection develop, because that development of connection is also in His hands. So ultimately, He's there to manage everything. You just have to give your best to Him. So pray to God. Let your wishes be granted. Let them not be granted. Slowly connect to God, and there's nobody in between you and God.
Brilliant. Khushi, thank you so much. It was a pleasure interacting with you. My best wishes to you for your career, for your future, for your life. May all the happiness be granted to you by Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Entire team of Blessing Ready is proud to be associated with Anything Will Do, a non-profit organization working towards humanity. If you would like to be associated with Anything Will Do, please follow the link given in the description below.